I previously named Phoenix Guard as the worst elite halberds in-game, and while I still do largely stand by that, some other people had made some pretty good points in the comments of that video, and I did want to address a few things about Phoenix Guard, mainly kind of play devil's advocate and say why they are good, even though they are still the worst elite halberds in my opinion. Especially in an infantry-centric meta, they can be quite strong. Phoenix Guard, this is the regiment-renowned Keepers of the Flame here. One benefit they do have is very good defensive stats. Now, their HP is an exception to that. They do have less HP than something like Blackguard or, Chosen with halberds, obviously, but they do have physical resistance to help make up for that. Currently sitting at 40 with their base 30, plus an additional 10% from Alariel. Martial Mastery puts them up to 62 melee defense. Regiment Renown also has magic damage, and they do kind of explode, but that's, unique to these guys. Another thing about them in kind of along with their HP and defensive stats is obviously the fact that they can take great healing. Alariel, one of the best healers in the game. They also have access to Lore of Life, Techless, Lore of High Magic, plenty of healing options for this kind of elite infantry, so their low HP ends up not being so much of an issue. I will say, though, that weapon strength is still absolutely terrible for a unit that's this expensive. Yes, they do have a very good anti-large bonus, but even still, most of their halberds are above 40 weapon strength. Anyway, this is myself versus Rider Rohan here. He's taking the High Elves. I've got Empire, a couple of Pistoliers here, double Griffin with Boris and Amber Wizard. No Manticore summons. Instead, we're going with the support of Curse of Honrare along with Flock of Doom. Got some archers here, front line of some spearmen, Sigmar's Sons with Felix here to try and heal the Amber Wizard, possibly. Give some damage resistance as well. Great Swords, Empire Knights, one Mortar. Rider Rohan, he's appropriately got quite a bit of cavalry. 3 Silver Helms, 2 Reavers, kind of all spread around the battlefield. We've got some archers. Of course, Alariel on foot, as we saw. Some White Lions and Rangers up front. So pretty solid infantry line. Definitely will trade well into state troops, but thankfully I've got these great swords and plenty of armor piercing for the Griffins. Griffins definitely have a lot of work to get done, though, so I'm going to pull my Empire Knights back in a position to protect the mortars. Kind of set the Pistoliers up here as well. Probably pull these spears back, kind of run forward. Big old Curse of Honrare are going to go down here and debuff the High Elves' melee stats. Griffin also dives in here. All the meanwhile, the Phoenix Guard are just holding back for the time being, allowing these cheaper units to kind of take the brunt of the Empire charge here, so we'll get in close. I apologize. Hopefully there's no stuttering. I don't know what exactly has been causing the major stuttering in some of my replays lately. I've been trying to figure it out, but it's not super consistent, so it's kind of hard to see. But great Shield of Thorns plus Earthblood here in the front line. Upgraded Shield of Thorns is going to give extra base weapon damage. Not super useful for the White Lions, considering their primary armor piercing, but the physical resistance certainly does help. You can see my Great Sword's not actually trading super well there. The Griffins did help, but in the back line here, Empire Knights, just not enough of them to really protect the artillery, so the mortar does get taken down. A little bit of a Flock of Doom here. Probably should be saving it for the Phoenix Guard. They themselves are getting completely untouched, and my armor-piercing anti-infantry unit of these Great Swords is already taken down. So that could potentially be an issue in the late game, but Cycle Charging and Flocks of Doom with the Griffins should be enough. Pistoliers also get set in a great firing position here, shooting into these unshielded Silver Helms. Even though they don't have pretty good armor, just overall high DPS of the Pistoliers will get through quite a bit of damage. You can see those Silver Helms dropping very quickly. Gotta love some Pistolier play. Oh yeah, Felix also kind of anchoring the Sigmar's Sons over here. They will keep him from getting surrounded at the very least for a good amount of time, allow him to get some extra kills, kind of work well together in tandem, but things are looking a little bit dicey for me. The 2 Griffins are both completely healthy, which is nice, and they've done a lot of heavy lifting so far, terrifying away these Silver Helms and Reavers and so forth. Empire Knights trying to chase them away, keep them from being overly effective, but all this while, these Phoenix Guard are completely untouched. And Alariel on foot also, massive melee defense, down to 43 with Curse of Honrare, but still, I mean, that's very good considering she's a caster character, right? And because she's on foot, she's also going to get knocked around quite a bit, won't take the full damage of those animations, so Starting to throw some Flock of Dooms on those Keepers of the Flame. Also Curse of Honor to debuff their stats. That was more to try and goon Alariel here, but of course it also does help against these other infantry units. Shield of Thorns being popped there. Boris is going to pull away with that active. So taking a look, kind of the overall battle here. Eventually, Felix does get surrounded. Sigmar's Son's completely gone. We've got some units kind of rallying to the cause here. We can pull the Griffins in, and haven't taken too much damage on the Amber Wizard, but we can come in and heal what little he has taken by fighting alongside Felix, right? Getting that ability there. Last unit of Silverhelms, also trying to clean them up with these Empire Knights and the Spearmen and so forth. If we can clean up all the cavalry, that'll definitely help me being able to use my mobility to kind of isolate units and try and see them off the battlefield. But Phoenix Guard really haven't done much yet. Only 34 kills, probably not a lot of damage value, but they are a huge threat to me in this late game, considering the bulk of my kind of army power is in large armored units. So here, like I said, Griffins drop down alongside Felix. They're able to get rid of those Elven infantry. Very nicely done. And looking not too bad. We still do have this one more health unit of Silverhelms that both of us had completely forgotten about, I guess. But it's here, also going to be causing some huge problems. And like here, these Empire Knights get into a pitched combat alongside the Spearmen against the Phoenix Guard and the White Lions. And that's really not a great situation for me. So another Shield of Thorns here, giving some physical resistance to the archers as they get charged here. Try and help them not take quite so much damage from the double Griffin charge. Another Flock of Doom, again, not targeting this pocket of armored infantry. Probably a mistake from me. Definitely that HP damage could have been well used against these White Lions and the Keepers of the Flame, but I'm a little bit hyper-focused right now on taking out all of those archers. Pistoliers and Empire Knights also going to be key for trying to get some terror routes here, so we'll wheel them up and around, get some rear charges on these archers, see if we can't get them away. But the Phoenix Guard are still, I mean, haven't lost a single unit model yet, right? So I've been focused on basically killing everything else, and as a result, my resources are getting pretty thin here. But the Pistoliers coming in for a charge should be able to tear out away these archers. Big old Curse of Honor as well to debuff the Elves' stats. Nice Star of Averlorn, though. Beautiful placement here is going to keep those Phoenix Guard from taking basically any damage. Healed a little bit of damage they have taken. They haven't lost any unit models at all yet, so they can receive quite a bit of healing still without, you know, healing models to cap and overhealing at all. So yeah, very, very good use of that. Big terror break here, though, for me. Empire Knights, Swordsmen, Empire Knights, and the Griffins and everything, just pushing all these archers and other support infantry away, so looks okay. This Silverhelm rear charge, though, breaking a unit of Spearmen, just absolutely 100% collapsing it. And also now, yeah, I mean, they're going to have the mass to be able to pin in my Griffins, potentially, and keep them locked up against the Phoenix Guard. It will take the Keepers of the Flame quite some time to deal with Boris, not so much with the Amber Wizard. He doesn't have a ton of HP, and, of course, the non-AP damage, the little bit of non-AP damage that the Keepers of the Flame do have, will be getting through, as he has relatively low armor as well. But big hit on Alariel. Again, trying to just see if we can't snipe her out here. I think she maybe has one more cast of Star of Averlorn, but the massive melee defense of the Phoenix Guard here, I mean, everyone's exhausted, so you know, stats are kind of debuffed for everyone across the board, but that massive melee defense is just so hard to hit in the late game. I mean, 50 attack on Felix plus his anti-infantry bonus, which I do forget. He can get his unit card to stay up here as he fights. 20 bonus versus infantry, so he does have 70 effective attack. You know, baseline, I don't remember 100%. I want to say that Vigor affects melee attack, but I actually don't remember. But even still, like, he's not going to be dishing out a ton of damage. Doesn't have the most weapon strength, splash damage, and everything else like that. But at this point, things are looking pretty grim for me. I mean, I've still got the 2 Griffins operational, but Boris is looking pretty alone. I mean, the Amber Griffin's not long for this world, because I can't necessarily charge in now and fight alongside Felix to get the healing. That could be a little bit rough, but let's fast forward somewhat through this late game as I try my best to use my mobile forces to clean up any isolated units. Got a handful of units coming back from route here. Felix actually does come back momentarily, so this is great for me. I can now dive the Amber Wizard in and fight alongside Felix, perhaps get the helping hands as well to get a little bit of extra, you know, melee attack, and yeah, you can see just a tiny bit of trickle HP there. Unfortunately, Felix not going to be able to keep up with the Silverhelms, so it's not like he can stand and heal for too long. But even still, Boris coming in for the archers. Just these Phoenix Guard, though. I mean, they've only lost 4 unit models even still up to this point, right? And I mean, I don't have any AP missiles. Didn't really bring any in this build, which definitely ended up being a mistake in hindsight. But Amber Griffin charges in with the Helping Hands, up to 80 melee attack. Damage resistance, of course, 40% as well, but still taking damage. Considerable amounts of damage, and yeah, a little bit late with Boris coming in to support. We do get some big hits on Ilario, but the Amber Wizard just taking too much damage here from all sorts of different sources. And Boris, like I said, a little bit late. Should have had him in a little bit earlier, or maybe waited with the Amber Griffin just a tiny bit longer. Since we weren't able to get rid of Ilario, there's the final Star of Averlorn, and the balance power should start dropping pretty considerably. Felix still in the fight, going to get in here with a little help from the Silver Helms to start fighting this infantry fight. The Griffin, though, is so low on HP that it's unlikely that I'll really be able to heal it very effectively as it fights in this big melee. The White Lion's also contributing excellently as well. But at this point, things are starting to turn against me in terms of the balance of power. Boris dives in. His debuffs will affect some of these units here, but the leadership on the Keepers of the Flame means that they're not going to be getting hit by both of his debuffs, and they will still be fighting at full stats, more or less. So that's not great. Amber Wizard doesn't look like he's coming back, so let's fast forward. Like I said, it'll take some time for the Phoenix Guard, even still with their pitiful weapon strength, to get through Boris. I mean, this is like a full minute or so of them just grinding him down, which is kind of embarrassing. Does still showcase how their DPS output is quite poor, but their defensive stats and their sustainability, as long as they don't get targeted too hard by shock damage, they can sustain through a big, long fight like this. So big credit to Rite of Rohan, one of my patrons. It was a very fun one. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this double Griffin right now. I think it's actually better than it was before with Curse of Honoraire being a support spell rather than using the extra Manticores. I really do think, I mean, the extra Manticores might still be useful in certain niche situations, but I really like this, the Curse of Honoraire, to kind of dive with both of these guys on one pocket. They did very much pay for themselves. Felix also just about paying for himself in terms of damage value, and also some good support on the Amber Griffin. My infantry did struggle, though, pretty badly. I mean, Rite of Rohan infantry composition here. I love the White Lions in the front line here. A little bit of extra support, you know, with the Spearmen and the Rangers to kind of get killed there. And also the Phoenix Guard then to just anchor. End up getting 2,500 damage value at the end of the day, grinding down my high-value single entities in the late game. So they did actually pay for themselves. I mean, it took 12 to 15 minutes, however long that battle was, but they did eventually pay for themselves. And they can, it just takes them a long time too. Empire Knights also, very admirable performance here. Anytime you can get close to paying for themselves for these guys, definitely a good time. They're largely seen more as blocking cavalry, but I think actually in the current patch, given the right situation, they can deal some damage, and like Curse of Honoraire does come into that as well. Pistoliers, of course, you average their value out, they both pay for themselves. Mortar was definitely a waste, as were the archers, but that's fine. Very well played to Rite of Rohan. And yeah, just to kind of finish out once again, revisit this Elite Halberd discussion. In the infantry meta, Elite Halberds are definitely better than ever, which is something. I mean, they haven't always been great, but oftentimes it's just better off to take great weapons instead of halberds right now anyway, because the great weapons will perform much better against infantry, and they'll still perform just fine against most large units. But there are some situations where you might want to take Phoenix Guard or other Elite Halberds, so let's just kind of bring in a few more here. Some of the most relevant ones, in my opinion. And I will also throw in Black Orcs, even though they're not a halberd because they're kind of a halberd. You do use them in a somewhat similar way. They're very heavy mass, a little bit slower than your typical great weapon. Anyway, so Phoenix Guard here. Again, going to have the lowest HP and weapon strength out of any of these units. At only 36 weapon strength base. I mean, Blackguard, they don't have the physical resistance or healing, but they have higher base HP, so they don't require those resources in order to, go higher. I guess against physical damage, they would effectively have more HP, right? The Phoenix Guard would, just because of that, but even still, they don't have immune to psychology baseline, which the Blackguards have, and this Murderous Prowess also giving them additional melee attack is great for halberds. Halberds tend not to have the greatest melee attack, although Phoenix Guard with Martial prowess active, I have decent enough melee attack for a halberd, certainly. Their melee attack and defense, I would say, are their strong points. The HP, though, is a problem. So we can see here, again, if we kind of compare, Temple Guard, way more HP, a little bit more HP on Blackguard, obviously Chosen, way more HP, like Black Orcs, way more HP. So if you add all, like full healing, for example, getting them all the way to their healing cap, they might be close to some of these other elite infantry units. But that is the downside, and again, the weapon strength, you can go back and look through. It is the lowest, no question about that. So definitely some significant downsides. I'd still say they're the worst. Mass is another issue I haven't really talked about too much in this video, but they do have the worst mass kind of alongside Blackguard of this class, Elves being very light typically, and that does include even the quote-unquote heavy Elven infantry, the heavily armored Elven infantry, I should say. But anyway, that's it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.